Hello, welcome to the podcast. This is Gregorian Chat. Today we are talking
about
how
to
break
up
with
someone. I don't know.
someone is one word.
I thought it was break up with someone well.
Well.
Is it break up? How to break up?
How to break up with someone well.
How to break up? How to break up well?
Now, before we go any further, let me just say, this podcast is only aimed at people who are in dating relationships, not people who are married.
Yeah, you can't break up.
Or people who are single.
Yeah.
You know, can't break up with anyone you're not currently in a relationship with.
Well, I was thinking about this. You can break up with people without being in a dating relationship with them.
So like breaking friendships and...
Well, yeah, and like if you've got like if you're part of a team and you're a youth group and someone's not pulling the weight, you need to say, hey.
What do you do? That's kind of picking on people who are overweight though.
Hey!
Kidding.
And aren't pulling it.
Well, I think that's a good point though.
Yeah, so like breaking up isn't just to do with dating, but it is also to do with dating.
But essentially the idea of bringing an end to some kind of relationship.
Yeah, how to break it up without shaking it up. I think that's a better title.
How to break up without the shake up.
Yeah. : how to break up with someone well.
Why do you always have to bring colons into it?
I've just done a biosci test on Friday.
Did you? How'd it go?
Well, you know, I don't think I did awfully, but I didn't enjoy it either. So, but I think that's just tests, really, isn't it?
I was going to be a nurse, by the way, in case you didn't know.
I'm nursing a degree right now.
You're going to be a male nurse, a nurse.
I'm going to have all the mercy.
I can't wait to go into hospital one day and you're in there and you're going to be the ward nurse.
In scrubs.
In scrubs, yeah. And you come and be like, oh my gosh. And we'll be like, podcast time.
Yeah.
Broken leg.
Yeah.
What better time?
I mean...
There was that time that you came and visited me in hospital.
Yeah, I was going to say...
And then I came and visited you when I gave you a concussion.
Yeah. Oh, look at us guys. What tea are we drinking?
Been in hospital. We are drinking a tea by TWG called Silver Moon. It's very tasty, eh?
I don't know, I haven't tasted it yet.
Well,
went right up my nose though.
Smells very good. I think we got it in Singapore. But that's that. We want to get back into some of this podcasting, I think.
We do.
I mean, I've personally been re-inspired.
Oh, good.
I think
I've been waiting for that. I had to start a whole other podcast to wait.
Maybe that's more accurate that I've had slightly more time, but that's not really true either. But anyway, it's good to be back. And should we talk about Endgame for a little bit?
I think it would be rude if we didn't.
Endgame. If you haven't seen it, just
fast forward. If you haven't seen it by now, I mean, seriously,
that's
what are you doing?
I know. Really. Are you even a Marvel fan?
Yeah, you're either not a Marvel fan, which it doesn't matter, or you're just not dedicated enough.
I agree with that. It's funny when you meet someone who's just so not interested in like popular movies.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, "Oh man, have you seen it?" Yeah, I was talking to someone else about it, and he's like, "Oh, what are you guys talking about?" We're like, "Oh, Endgame," and he was like, what is that?" I was like, "Endgame." He's like, "Is that a film?" And I was like, "Marvel film."
Get out.
He's like,
just get out.
I was like, "What?" So I mean, this is a very intelligent person who's into like literature, and it's just a different world. You know, sometimes these worlds don't.
It's below them, beneath.
Beneath.
But
on the whole, what would you rate it out of 10?
Well, it's a difficult thing. This
it is
because there's a few things you need to take into consideration.
Hit me.
From the perspective of, I fell in love with Iron Man 1, and I decided I'm dedicating my life to this for the next. How many years?
However many they take.
7 years? 10 years?
11?
Anyway.
No. Yeah.
For the next 21 movies, right?
11 years, right? Because 2008 Iron Man came out.
Anyway, so when I watched that and decided, right, I'm dedicating my life to this. This is what I was waiting for. And it's the culmination of everything that's happened that made these movies so epic.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant for that reason.
And I remember that all of our podcasts early on, when we were giving rebuttals to Brendan Malone and such,
on Guardians of the Galaxy,
a lot of our points from memory were like, you can't just judge these movies necessarily as standalone movies. Which, I mean, as a film critic, you should. That's kind of what you are doing. But for us, I think we were like so invested because we're thinking, you know, this is leading towards this culmination, as you say.
And so from that perspective, it was the most amazing thing that's ever happened in the whole world. However, not from that perspective, the perspective of just storyline and dialogue and stuff. I'm like, maybe not so good. Because I mean, as a premise, it's like, oh, everything's gone rubbish. Why don't we just go back in time? Oh, okay, we'll go back in time.
Well, but it was more complicated than that.
It was a little bit more complicated than that. Also, I didn't...
No, because what did you think? Like, before you saw the movie, what did you think was going to happen? How did you think they were going to bring everyone back?
I thought everyone hadn't disappeared and they'd just gone into the subatomic level.
Well, yeah, that would be lame.
Yeah.
Ash World.
Yeah.
World of Ashes. But I thought most of the film was going to be them trying to track down Thanos. Eventually, like, you know, they did this big plan just to find him, just to be able to confront him to get the gauntlet. So I thought it was really cool going in there and just being like, what the heck? Within like the first 5 minutes or something, 10 minutes, you know, they found him, they beat him, they smash his ass, and like the stones are gone. It was like, what?
Yeah,
something else.
I think also so much happened. I think I'm gonna have to watch it like 16 times to fully get everything that happened.
Yeah, I would like to watch it again.
Should we just?
All right, we'll just pause and
okay.
Ain't got time for that.
I think it was. There's so much that happened. There was like so many storylines. My least favorite part of it all was Captain Marvel. I just felt like...
You mean Katy Perry?
Who?
She looks just like Katy Perry on her latest tour, which I haven't seen much of, but...
I haven't seen Katy Perry's latest tour.
Katy Perry, she just has one of those like short...
hairdos.
Pixie / Dyke hairdos, yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't like Captain Marvel's role. I like the movie Captain Marvel, but I feel like they're just kind of like, okay, let's make a superhero that can just... Like... If Captain Marvel there at the beginning, there would have been a fight.
No, but I think they carefully addressed that by saying like she shows up and she destroys Thanos' ship. It's like, oh my gosh! But then she actually goes one-on-one with Thanos and can't.
No,
pin him down.
She gets kicked. No, she gets kicked away by Thanos. Then she flies back up to him, and she's holding his fist in the same way that Captain America was in the Infinity Wars. And then with his other fist, Thanos punches in the side. She didn't even flinch. And it's like, oh, so you're more powerful than everything. Okay, that's fair enough.
So do you feel that Captain Marvel is too much of a Superman character?
Yeah, it's
just... that is the problem with Superman.
It's
I don't like him. Because
what can you do? Oh, everything.
It's more like, what can't you do?
Well, no, not that. It's just super strength and flying power. She doesn't have laser eyes or anything, or blowing and speed.
Doesn't she?
I don't think so.
She doesn't have blowing?
She doesn't have blowing.
Superman. I didn't know Superman has blowing.
He has blowing.
No wonder I hate him. No.
He's like a glorified leaf blower.
What?
So I can sort this out.
Listening to that as your powers. Laser eyes. Blowing. I just never heard anyone vocalise that.
You know
before.
what?
And I think,
it's been a very long week.
I think you did. I mean, but it's accurate what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, I felt like they didn't overuse her, which was always going to be the worry. Because you were like, how are they going to beat this guy? Oh, they've got Captain Marvel now, you know. Yeah. And as somebody pointed out really well, it would have been so lame if, you know, you've worked 11 years, 22 films, whatever, building this massive cast of amazing superheroes who are limited, you know, and they have, there's only so much they can do, and then bringing in at the last minute this last character who we haven't really had much of a chance to bond with as an audience, and then being like, oh, she's the one who just completely saves the day.
I just feel like it's like they had Tony Stark, who was like, you know, but there's Tony Stark and Captain America, and they were kind of like, ooh, power struggle, who's the best? And then it's like, oh, T'Challa's better than Tony. It's like a better version of Tony Stark. He's got a really cool suit. He's richer and he has more resources and he's better at fighting. And then it's like, but Captain Marvel's a better version. Even so, and it's like, okay, so it's just like,
wow,
yeah.
Anyway,
that's what it feels like. But all in all, love the movie. Love the way they dressed the three, like, you know, Black Widow's character, Captain America's character, and I think it was the perfect ending of such a long drawn out thing. I think Robert Downey Jr. is awesome. And I think he did a really good job of all it. I think was like he was
His struggles
he
with
I think,
family, and it was
I
good.
think he was one of the main reasons, like his person being put into that character. I think brought a lot into the whole dynamic of everything.
Yeah.
I think it was just very good from the beginning. But yes, all in all, epic movie.
I definitely came pretty close to tears at some points.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like when Spider-Man and Tony Stark, Iron Man, are reunited, and he's because Tony Stark feels a lot of responsibility for this kid.
Yeah.
Finally knights him an Avenger, and the first thing that he does is go and die. So
yeah.
Anyway, so this topic.
The topic of how to break up without a shake-up.
How to break up with a shake-up. Because I feel like it's something that we could actually talk about for the full 20 minutes.
Yeah, quite probably. Well, I mean, I think for me, the answer is what is it? I always get this mixed up. Simple, but it ain't easy.
Okay.
When dealing with people, and this goes for whether you like someone, whether you want to break up with someone, whether you are having a tough time with a friend or a colleague, the best thing to do in all those situations is just be completely straight with them. None of this hinting, none of this suggestion, no text messaging, frank conversation. Say, look, you said these things, it upset me. Or, look, I think you're the most attractive person in the world, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You just got to be frank. None of this messing around. It's like, so I think I kind of got this feelings that I maybe want to like you, or maybe I don't actually want to be with you anymore. We don't know.
I mean, depending on what number of days it is, if it's the first time you've met the person.
No, straight away from the get-go. I'm joking. No, that's probably weird.
But I think, you're right. I think taking in, how would I approach this topic from the beginning? I guess I would say people break up, and often it's really nasty. Other times it's not, and in a way, it's this kind of I don't know. In a way, there's a lot of talk about people breaking up, and they're kind of like, oh, this has to be, this has to be the easiest thing. There's always an easy way of doing it, and I don't think that's necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you have created this bond with someone, like an investment in their life, is never necessarily going to be easy to then go, okay, well, I feel like we should end this now. And it is. As much as it is possible to have amicable breakups that aren't people throwing plates and things like that.
Yeah.
I also think that there is always going to be a degree of you're never going to come out of this not feeling at least like you've lost something, if not hurt.
Yes, and I think no matter how amicable and how well the breakup has gone, I think there always needs to be a period of distance. I think the worst thing that you can say in a breakup is, let's still be friends. Let's
take a break, or
let's take a break. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard of a time where taking a break actually sorted anything out. I think it's best to just if you break up with someone, say okay, and then don't see them for a while. Or if you have to see them, well, obviously be fine with them. But I think there has to be a time of actual breakup. I'm friends with plenty of my exes, and we're still in touch, but that didn't happen right away, So I think there needs to be a time of, because I think when you get into a relationship, like you said, you invest in this relationship, and it becomes part of who you are. It becomes part of your your psyche and your memories and stuff like that. And I watch a lot of sci-fi. And on Star Trek and on the Orville and stuff, there's always a situation where an android gets into a relationship with a human. And it's androids can't have relationships. But one thing they always bring up is but in my circuitry, I've gotten used to you being around, and therefore I haven't been doing certain processes because I'm used to you being there.
Right.
And I think that's a truth of our human relationships of I'm so used to having you around, I don't have to think about these things anymore, or it's a comfort that I'm used to.
Yeah.
And so, I think bearing that in mind is you don't need to address that, but you don't need to address that with the person, but you need to address that with yourself.
There's going to be a change there.
Yeah, and so you need to allow yourself to say, okay, I need to refine how I do those things. So in a breakup, that's why there needs to be a distance, not because the other person's evil, or the other person's wrong necessarily, unless of course they did do something evil and wrong, so that's a whole other sort of situation.
I'm dating Hitler.
And is that why they broke up? Sorry, I'm dating Hitler. Are you breaking up because they're Hitler?
Yeah. No, but I think you're right. I also have never really heard of a good example of like, oh, you know, how's it going with that relationship? Oh, we're just going to take a break. Because it's like, that's not really how relationships work. I mean, if you think about even like any relationship, brother and sister, father and son, you know, it's like, I mean, that's a relationship you can't avoid. Like you're born into that.
Watch me.
But relationships of our choosing, you know, it's something different. And some people would think, well, you know, because it's a relationship of our choosing, we can just kind of put it on pause. But what I've often seen is that people then, it's like this weird unspoken agreement, which there's this really great Christian psychologist called David Riddell. You should look him up. But he has this, like, you know, he's very clear on the fact that you shouldn't have unspoken, unofficial agreements with people, which is like, and a lot of the time we're not as intentional as we need to be when we have these kinds of conversations. We kind of think, well, what does that mean to still be friends, but like to be on hold? It's just like, we can't, you know, I've seen it, so many people that are like, oh, we're on a break, but then you know, he started talking to these other girls and it just got me really jealous. And it's like, well, you're not, I thought you weren't dating anymore. It's like, well, no, we're just taking a break. It's like, that's just one possible thing that it could be an absolute screw up.
Yeah.
Not to mention just the fact that really for Christians, the process of dating, I feel that it should be, you know, don't hype it up too much. I mean, go and read Sam Brebner's blogs if you really want a good answer on this. But if it's hyped up too much or too little, then something's going to go wrong. And if we're not intentional, then we can just kind of fall into relationships with people.
It's the worst thing, eh?
And then, you know, when you're on pause, it's not necessarily this like we're on a pause because we're discerning God's will. It's just kind of like, we're going to see if we can iron out the kinks of our personalities.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't even know if it's that, because I think if you're going to work on something, you need to be present to the thing that you're going to be working on. So we're going to work on a relationship by not spending time with each other.
Yeah, that's right.
But like, I think
room to breathe.
Yeah, and
like
I think
festy cheese.
Oh, is that how festy cheese is?
Sorry, carry on.
So I think if you're going to work on a relationship, but I mean, is it again working on a relationship? You can't make a relationship happen, nor can you just fall into a relationship and it be successful. I think there needs to be a level of intentionality that is like, okay, I'm going to grow with this person. And I think when a breakup happens, is when it's like, okay, I can't grow in the direction you're growing in. We're growing in different directions. And that's okay. And at that point, it's like you need to be honest with your partner and be like, look, here's how I'm feeling. This is what's going on. And so like a breakup doesn't need to be like, so I've noticed you've gotten into football and I'm really a rugby fan, so looks like this isn't going to work. See you later. But like more of, okay, I feel really called in this direction, and it's pulling me over here, and it's something you're not interested with and you don't want to do because you want to go off in this direction.
Right.
It's like, so what? And then have a conversation. And it's like, well, and then if a compromise can be made, then the relationship can grow, we can move forward together, and you know, so it's a continuing relationship. Whereas like I think the breakup would be like kind of a mutual thing, and it'd be sad, but then it'd be like knowing why we broke up. The reason we broke up is because, you know, I want to move to New York and pursue this, you know, CEO position, and you are really bound to this job here. You know, it's like, well, this isn't going to work out.
And I think another thing with this whole, like, how do we break up with someone well? And I mean, without the shake-up, I guess, like, in terms of a title, it's kind of like, we need to make sure that you realise that there will be that there will be a bit of friction. But how to do it well, I think a lot of it depends on how you start a relationship, how you end one. Because it may be the case that you find yourself in a relationship now, you know, or have been in the past where, like we said, you just fell into it.
Yeah.
In other words, you kind of like, maybe you started going to a new you were in a new friend group or something, and immediately there was just someone that kind of you clicked with, and you're like, man, this guy or this girl is really, we just get along, you know, we can just talk for ages about the same stuff, we really agree on everything, you know, and then it's just like without too much discussion or prayer or discernment, it's kind of like, oh, I guess we're kind of dating now. Like, well, we just started hanging out one-on-one, and it just became an exclusive relationship.
You know, we kissed that one time. And guess we're not friends anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, I kiss my friends all the time. But I think, the manner in which you break up will heavily depend on the manner in which you began the relationship. Not all the time, but I do think it is, like you said, a matter of intentionality, because, you know, then if you've begun it in a way that is, hey, like, I really like you, and we should. This is a skip, by the way. Finally coming up. I really, you know, I like you, and I think that, you know, we bring out the best in each other. And I really enjoy myself around you, and I'd like to start dating you. You don't have to get down on one knee at that point in time.
Not
you know,
quite yet.
And what do you think? You know, maybe we should pray about it, come back, you know, and depending on whatever your level of intentionality is. But then if at the end of the relationship it's just like, you know what, we're just kind of bored with each other. Or, you know, you haven't really talked through a lot of the issues, and it comes to the breaking point, it's just like, nah, that's it. You know?
Yeah. And I think because also being in a relationship is a daily choice, and so you have to enter into it with that in mind. But I wanted to get your ideas on this set phrase that I hear a lot. Is like, if you're not dating to marry, you're dating to break up. Because I think as a premise, it's a good ideology or idea. If you're not dating to marry, you're dating to break up. So what are you doing dating? But then it's also puts a lot of pressure on dating. It's like, okay, so I can't date someone unless I'm going to marry them. And I think there is a real purpose to dating of finding out who you are and finding out how you interact with other people so that you can marry someone. Because I know so many people that they enter into their first relationship and it's just an absolute mess because they're both still like very childish, or like they don't know what they want, or they think they know what they want and it isn't matching what's happening, so they get stressed out and they overthink everything. It's like, and that's just first relationship. And I'm not saying that's going to break up necessarily, but like it's a healthy thing to date, to meet people and exclusively be in a relationship with people.
Right.
So what do you think on the whole dating to marry?
Dating to marry.
Yeah.
I agree with your point that, you know, in one sense it can put a lot of pressure on the dating phase. I've never liked the idea of like what I thought was an American style dating, which is like you just kind of go out with a whole bunch of different people and eventually you'll find one that you like.
That's
you know,
terrible.
It just sounds like you're just making a whole bunch of these connections to all these different hearts, and then you're going to break 5 hearts and then just keep one that's going to be for you. And you know, I think, I mean, I don't have a long history of dating, but I know when Laura and I started dating, it was very much partly affected by the time of life that we were in. You know, we were 25 or so. And so we knew that if we were going to start a new relationship, that we wanted it to be something from the start that we did with purpose and not something we fell into. But not just doing it with purpose on the, like you say, on a daily basis, but knowing that there is a greater purpose to relationships between a man and a female. You know,
so bearing it in mind.
So it's not necessarily dating to marry that person, but it's like dating with the realization that the completion or like the fulfillment of a dating relationship it's a shadow really of like what a marriage is. Obviously you don't have those things because you haven't made that full commitment. But I think a massive point in terms of going along that road is realizing that you need this person, whoever it is that you're going to be married to bring out the best in you.
Right.
If they don't bring out the best in you, you know, then I mean, there could be a couple of things going on there. Maybe you have unresolved issues. Maybe the other person has unresolved issues. But essentially, you'll know it's God's will when that person really helps you. Like, the purpose of being married, right, is to be like, I bring my wife before God, at the end of time, I will be like, got to be like, how did you bring your wife closer to me? I'll be like, well, X, ... and she obviously did the same for me. And so, but once again, all of that stuff can be too much pressure when you're dating. But maybe, I don't know what you think about this, maybe there's something to say about like how dating can do that in a smaller way, or in like less, obviously sacramental ways. You know, is there some kind of shadow of dating in which that happens? You know, where you start to find out whether this is going to work for marriage.
Well, I don't know, because I feel like dating and marriage are two completely different things. Like being at the chaplaincy, you know, for 6 years and being married for most of that, you know, the students had asked me questions about dating. It's like, if you weren't married, would you do this? I have no idea, because being married is so much different to being single. And I think dating is formative, in that you're growing in relationship with other people and therefore with God, and I think we need to be intentional with that in ourselves. Of like, okay, this was a bad day. Why was it a bad day? Let's talk about this. And this is just daily life, and like with your relationships. I mean, I think it comes with age as well. So, like, I mean, with you and Laura, when you met, you were both in your mid-20s?
Mid-20s, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's back to studying.
As you get into mid-20s, you kind of, like, end of a degree, and you're like, right, actually, this is the next stage in life.
Yeah.
Opposed to when you're in school. Having said that, you know, you hear about kids that meet when they're 19 and get, you know.
But I think, I mean, just for the last kind of 4 minutes or so of this podcast, trying to pin down exactly, you know, that process of breaking up for people maybe who... Either maybe you're in a relationship that you are afraid might break up, or you aren't in a relationship and you don't want to be because you're afraid of breakups. Then I guess one thing we could say is don't let that be an inhibiting factor for you. Like, don't put off dating just because you're worried that your heart will get broken. In saying that, if you, in order to like build up the courage there, you need to make sure if you're going to start dating that it needs to be, have a good foundation. You know, that you're putting pillars in place so that when it gets to the point where, I mean, essentially, right, we have our non-negotiable things, right? Like our boundaries, and when those are pushed in a relationship, that's when you know, usually, okay, something's gone wrong here. Like, we need to actually, like, the non-negotiable things are starting to be stretched, and maybe that is the need for a breakup. You know, and you should be able to discuss that with the person if they completely don't understand what you're talking about. Either you haven't had a good enough conversation about what a good relationship looks like, or they just aren't the person for you.
I think I think bearing in mind that a relationship, as everything in life, is a journey, but this is a journey you're doing with somebody. And so as you're in the relationship, you need to be evaluating it, not in a really overt way necessarily, but you need to be bearing that in mind. Like, okay, how do I feel about this? If this upsets me, I need to talk about it. If this makes me happy, I need to talk about it. So then you know, it's something you're in a relationship with somebody, you need to talk things through. And therefore, if you're in a relationship where you're like, actually, I don't think I can be in this relationship anymore, it needs to be voiced. And you need to be frank with it, but like fair. And
as well, like, important things along the way that will help you with that is like, with their family, make sure that you are invested in their family, but not that you have investments in the family which are going to overrule your relationship with the person. I mean, when you get married, you'll find like your duty is to your wife or your husband, not first and foremost to their family. And sometimes things like close familial ties with brothers and sisters of the people that you're dating, you know, like, they're good. I'm not saying don't do them, but like, never let that get in the way of your decision. If the person is not right for you, then the family's not right for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Also, like, I think it's really important to, like we're saying with those deal breakers, like, make sure you know what your deal breakers are. If the person that you are interested in dating doesn't seem interested in those deal breakers, you know,
and that comes out of frank
don't go on breaks.
Too.
Don't put a relationship on pause. That never helps anyone.
Terrible.
And also, don't talk to like too many people about maybe the issues you're having with your breakup. Don't talk to everyone, because you'll get some really bad advice from friends who have had bad breakups.
Or you'll just get lots of advice. So I'd say maybe like, yeah, if you can have like a spiritual director, you know, maybe 1 or 2 people that you speak to, and but I think taking advice is a whole other podcast. But yeah, so maybe when it comes to breaking up, I think have boundaries, be direct, and
be intentional.
Yeah, remember it's about relationship, even breaking up. It's like when you break up with someone, it's not like they disappear in your life. They've been in your life for a significant amount of time, maybe, and therefore, be in relationship with them in the breakup. By that I mean, remember that they're a person and talk with them through what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Because I mean, so many times, it could be just be like, I feel like this, and it's like, well, why do you feel like this? It's like, because you do these things. It's like, oh, I thought you liked those things. It could be something as simple as that. It might be non-negotiable, and you won't know that unless you talk it through with them. So, I think open and frank conversations are good to have about good things and bad things.
Yeah. And
this could lead to a parting of ways, a breakup, but make it a parting of ways rather than it's over, see you later.
Exactly, yeah. And not some kind of like, let's take a break in the promise that things will get better and we'll make it work. And I've seen too many people who've been destroyed by that as well. Like, what are you guys doing? Oh, well, we're going to sort it out. 100% we're going to sort it out, but it's just a matter of us, because we already know that we're perfect for each other. But it just so happens that there's so much stuff that's breaking us apart. I was like, are you sure you're perfect for each other then? Like, come on, don't fool yourself. Make sure that you're honest in what a putting on hold is.
And I think that's the important thing about having 1 or 2 people to talk to you about, because they give you something objective. Like, often a parent is very good, because a parent cares about you intensely. And it's like, if like your parent's saying, what are you doing? And then maybe one friend is like, my mum said this, what do you reckon? Your parent's correct. And it's like, okay, look after yourself, come on, man. I mean, we're Christians, and we are all about loving the other, willing the good of the other. But if the other's destroying you in your heart and like breaking down mentally, it's like, you need to get out of there, because for your own good.
Yeah.
And if this person like loves you and wants to be in a relationship with you, it's like, okay, sometimes there's a certain type of relationship you're called to, and it's not a deeper one.
Amen, brother. I think that's probably about all we got time for, because Dom's going to be doing a photo shoot for our band, The Sations.
The Sations, look them up.
Look up Dominic Malgeri Photography.
Dom Malgeri Photography. All one word.
Thanks for joining us today. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah.
About breaking up.
Yeah. All staying together. If you want.
Yeah.
God bless.
Go get dead.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the podcast. I've got good news. It just got a whole lot easier to search for us online.
All you got to do is search Gregorian Chat into YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, and Player FM for those who are on Android.
Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. See you later. God bless.